Welcome to the podcast. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we've had you on once before. So what got you into the finance?
So, yeah, I got my degree in business management.
Yeah.
So, in that, you do have to touch quite a bit on finance.
Right.
So I did dive into that, but a lot of my finance background kind of comes from my dad, actually. So,
Sure.
my dad, I call him Dave Ramsey Jr. because
Yeah.
he's a financial wizard a lot of the times.
Right.
I did work as a financial advisor for a little bit.
Oh, cool.
For I don't know, a year there, and then I went to school, and then a lot of kids in school don't really want to pursue
Right.
financial stuff. They're more worried about getting a student loan and then paying that off down the line, and they don't want life insurance. They don't want index funds or annuities or
Right.
investment advice. They kind of just want to get through school.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's their main thing, and rightfully so. But so that's kind of where my finance background stems from. So I'm definitely not any professional.
Right. Right. But the business management too, I think, is a good, like, they're very realistic numbers, right? You're kind of
Yeah.
crunching numbers specific to the outcome you're looking for and what
Yep.
you're trying to build and what you're trying to do, which I think that's the piece that is missing a lot of times for people in school.
Yep.
I know for me, like, math was fine and all, but I was like, what am I using this for? What's this equation equate to in a real world sense? To me, it didn't make any sense because I was like, I don't have something, tangible to apply it to. But when you start to apply it towards business or towards, whatever you're trying to build, right?
Yep.
It becomes a lot more meaningful. That's probably the right word.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think is, because I know you started posting about this a lot on your TikTok. You got a series running about buying a house, and that was something I wanted to ask you because I think now, I mean, it's so expensive to try and buy a house.
Yeah.
And we see these rates going up and up and up, and like I was just looking the other day, 800 square foot apartment costs, I can rent it for $1,700 a month.
Yep.
Right. So as a young adult, like, I guess if you're a baby boomer or somebody like that who's gone to a house when, your mortgage was really great and it was a low percentage,
Yep.
you're in a great spot, right? You've got this asset that's worth more than it really is, and you can do a lot with it. But if you're our age, we're not really in a great spot in that type of sense, and it doesn't appear like that's going down. So I don't know, what do you think about that?
No, that's something that I was like really trying to figure out for the longest time. Like, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna afford a house one day?
Yeah.
And I mean, I've always been a big saver, and so I had my chunk of change stashed away somewhere under my mattress or whatnot, waiting to buy a house. And the goal was to get in a house and put 20% down.
Yeah.
And my wife and I were waiting until we could do that. And it actually came, I had a buddy reach out to me. He's like, hey, do you know of anywhere to look at new build homes? And I was like, yeah, I actually looked at these new builds out in Apache Junction Mesa area called Radiance. Like, go check them out. And he texted me the next day. He's like, we bought. And I was like, you bought, dude? Like, what the heck? And he's like, yeah, we bought a house. And I was like, that's awesome, man. So he's like, go check it out. The rates are just disgusting right now. And I was like, okay, well, are we really? We literally just signed the lease. Our lease just down the street here, actually.
Yeah.
The day before that. So, like, the same day he reached out to me, I'd re-signed my lease for another 13 months.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And because I was like, all right, $1,500 a month for a 2-bed, 2-bath.
Right.
That's much more doable than
You're like, bro, why couldn't you have
house.
said this like yesterday?
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, we hadn't looked at new builds yet. We looked at just your traditional resales, and a traditional resale here in the Valley averages $500,000 almost. It's like, I think, $480,000 here for your typical 2-bed or not 2-bed, 2-bath, 3-bath, 4-bedroom house. And but with interest rates at like 6.2% right now, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Even with 20% down, I mean, you're still looking at $3,000 a month.
Right.
And it's just insane.
Yeah.
So almost $3,000 a month, I guess, without private mortgage insurance. But we went and looked at these new builds, and we found one, and I was like, oh, this is a really nice house. Like, that's cool. And then, of course, the reps there were like, oh, yeah, we can get you in on a under a 3.99 interest rate. And I was like, wait, what the freak, dude? Like
Right.
that drops the monthly payment significantly,
Sure.
that percentage. And so
How are they doing that?
they buy it down. So the builders, I mean, your builders, they've got billions of dollars liquid for them
Sure.
because they've done this so much that they can literally buy the interest rates down. So it's an incentivization to get home buyers into their houses
Gotcha.
versus going and buying resale homes.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's kind of what it was. And then with that, I was like, okay, well, if we're gonna buy a house, like I love I'll say this. I despise influencers, but I really like people that are on social media that are just like 100% open.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, heck, I'm gonna do that. Like I love money, I love finance. I'm gonna start a social media account where I go over like my personal finances, and I'm just like 100% open. Like this is how much I make, this is how much I spend, this is how
Right.
much I save. So I'm very open, like about our house. Like it's $540,000. We got a 3.99% interest rate. Our mortgage is $28.49 a month. You know, I'm just like, let's be open about that, because I think there's this fear, almost like fear mongering in our society today around money and finance. Like people, and everybody has differing opinions, but people don't want to share how much they make. They don't want to share how much their mortgage is.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to talk about that. And I think that, you know, that's okay if that's your personal stance on it. Like, by all means, like, I respect that. But at the same time, it's like, if we had more openness and we talked more about money, especially in school,
Yeah.
maybe we wouldn't be $30 trillion in debt as a nation, you know?
Right. Right.
So it's something that for me, I've always been passionate about. I'm like, the average American doesn't have enough in their savings account. I think the number is $756 is what the average American has in their savings account. They can't afford an emergency expense of $1,000.
Right. Wow.
And so like that's a rough circumstance to be in, and I would never personally want to live that way. I wouldn't ever want to live paycheck to paycheck.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of what motivated me to start my social media account, and I'm still working at getting that all to take off and whatnot. And moving in a house is a lot. So once we finally get settled, which should be, we're pretty much done at that point.
Yeah.
I'm committing to daily posts about finance. And then that kind of opened its way into my course that I've also opened up. So
Right. Right. No, that's cool. Yeah. Because so when did you guys decide? So you went and looked, right? You signed this lease. You went and looked at these new builds.
Yep.
You were like, wow, okay, this is a great rate. Like, we could maybe make something happen here. And so when did you guys decide to move in? Like, what was the timeline there?
So we went and looked at the homes. That was the very beginning of January. I think it was like the 3rd of January, so it was right after the new year. We went and looked at these houses, and we're like, oh yeah, these are nice houses. And then they gave us the whole spiel of how much it would cost and what the percentage was and everything else. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this actually isn't a bad idea.
Yeah.
I also work in the construction industry for roofing, and my company does a lot of roofs for new build homes.
Really?
The company I work for is one of the largest in the valley here.
Oh, cool.
So
how'd you get into that? Was that just kind of like
just coincidence?
Like, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a friend of a friend of a friend kind of thing.
Oh, okay,
so
gotcha. What do you do for them? Are you?
I do estimation, sales, project management. So mainly project management for them. I estimate and sell all the your custom roofing here in the valley. So I do a lot of like basketball and baseball players. Their giant mansions. I've done several of those. So yeah, that's kind of what I do for them. But hearing the insights from the owners of the company and the higher up management, that they're sitting with these builders, and these builders are like, okay, we've actually really got to pull back on our incentive rates because XYZ and this, that, and the other, and the market's going up, and it's much more seller's market than it is a buyer's market right now.
Sure.
The economy, that causes the interest rates to go up, and everything else, just like all this stuff.
Then we closed the Straits of Hormuz.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Oh, exactly. Well, that really affected the interest rates when it happened. So it just like all that stuff was kind of in the back of my mind, and I was like, well, do we jump in and pull the trigger and buy a house? Like, we have the money, more than enough money to put down, that we've saved with time. Do we do it now, or do we wait until we have the 20%, like I'd said? And after, personally, we took it up with God. So
right, yeah.
we're like, is this right? And we felt confident and felt comfortable with it, and so we're like, all right, let's pull the trigger. So we did it, and it was a big decision, but it was like you said, we signed our lease. Like 2 days later, we found this house, and we decided to purchase it.
Yeah.
Put money down on it. So we had to go back to our apartment complex. Luckily, our lease hadn't begun.
Yeah.
So we had to we got out of the contract with nothing.
No penalties or anything.
No real penalties, but
that's good.
Fair Housing Agreement Act, I guess you're supposed to give 60-day notice. So we ended up paying $6,000 for 1 month of rent.
Okay.
So it technically was like a fee to get out of the contract, but
sure.
Anyways, yeah. So we paid that and got into the house. So
what is? So I'm curious with because you're obviously posting about this. I don't want I mean people can go. What's your socials, just so people can, and we'll do it at the end too.
Everything, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. It's Jake Pays It Off.
Jake
all
pays
one word.
Off. Okay. So I'm curious because I think a lot of people, like I said, young people specifically, they're wondering, they're bouncing between, they see, these apartments that are high rent, that aren't a lot of space, that, or they're going somewhere where it's, maybe a not as nice area where maybe the value is a little bit less because it's just more affordable, or they're looking at these houses that are just astronomical. Like my parents' house, what they're currently paying like somewhere in $1,000 a month for their rent, but but if they were to sell it, it's like double the price of what they bought it for, and anyone now could rent it for like triple that, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like crazy, the numbers. So as a young person trying to get in here, right? What was your thought process? What were you like? Okay, here's how we're gonna make this work. Because I think, like you said, a lot of people don't understand it. They just see these numbers and they go, oh, this is not doable.
Yeah.
So what did you do? What are you doing to pay it off? Like, what is the strategy, I guess, is the best way? How does Jake pay it off?
Yeah. So something I'm really passionate about is knowing where every penny goes of your finances.
Yeah,
so every penny that comes in, every penny that goes out. I've built a really robust budgeting tracker in Excel and Google Docs called my penny for penny budgeter.
There you go.
So every single penny that comes in to our bank account, I know exactly where it's going.
Okay, cool.
That makes life a billion times easier. Just knowing exactly where my money is going. Okay, X number of dollars is going to the electric, X number of dollars is going to gas, X number of dollars is phone bill, internet. Everything is listed out on this, down to subscription. The whole 9 yards is in there. And so that's made it significantly easier because I now know, okay, between my wife and I, we make X number of dollars. We are going to save, we try to save like 15% of that. So everything that comes in, we try to put away a large chunk into retirement savings, and then our everything from slush funds for like cars or trips or whatever we want to do. That's like the biggest thing is that budgeter. That's what's really helped us like wrap our head around. We know where our money is going.
Right.
If you don't have your brain wrapped around where your money is going or how much is coming in, you can't budget to save. You can just throw a couple $100 in a savings account every month. Yeah. But like, what's that doing for you?
Right.
So, knowing exactly where your money goes, like for me, like that money mindset is crucially important.
Yeah.
And then, my whole thing is I'm going to pay off my house in 5 years. Like that is the goal, and big goals are there to try to achieve.
Sure.
If you don't achieve it, it's not the end of the world, but my goal is to pay it off in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And like how I really want to do that is I've created a space on, it's called School, SKOOL, school.com.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've created a community on there where my goal is to motivate people to be debt free. It's kind of a debt-free community. Like, come in, like, be debt-free with me, or strive for that. And let's share our wins of, hey, I paid off my credit card today, or hey, I put this much of a payment towards my credit card today, or whatnot. But I've also created in there a course, as I have learned finance slowly and everything else. I have tried to implement all the strategy, the everything else into this course, and I have a 9-phase module. So there's like 55 units in this course.
Yeah.
Everything from like your money mindset to budgeting to savings to what credit and debt are, down to like starting a business, opening an LLC, and like finding other ways of bringing on income. Because that's the biggest problem that we have today, I feel like, in our society is not that there isn't enough money to go around. There's more than enough money. Everybody can make money. It's we have our jobs, and our job baseline isn't meeting the housing
Sure.
baseline. Like, it should have increased significantly the average pay of the average person, if we're trying to get back to where people were in like the 90s, for example,
Right.
or the early 80s, with buying homes. And so realistically, if you want to do something like that, you have to have a side hustle.
Yeah.
Like, you just do. You have to have a job and a side hustle. So for me, it's really important that I keep my wife home once we have kids.
Sure.
So she can raise our kids. And so it's like, all right, well, I have to have a side hustle anyways. Yeah. And so hence where Jake Pays It Off is born, is the side hustle with the school community, the budgeting, tracker, and the social media. So
Yeah. Do you feel like, and maybe this is kind of a stupid question, but do you feel like, because I think that's a big complaint from a lot of people now, is they feel like, you know what, not only do I have to like work a job, but I have to find another source of income just to get ahead, to just maybe get into a home, to just maybe get by and get to, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe that's kind of a whiny mindset, like, such is life, right? Like, some people had to go to fight in World War II. I didn't have to do that, so that's nice, right? But, there is something to be said. It seems like how do people really get ahead,
Yeah.
when it's like, it seems like the deck is stacked against them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, lay down and die to your circumstances,
Sure.
or get out and hustle, you know. And I think it kind of just boils down to that, like, do I particularly want to go to a 9-to-5 job every day? No.
Right.
I wish I could just lay on a beach somewhere and veg out and have everything paid for. But in reality, that 99% of Americans don't have that luxury.
Sure.
99% of the world doesn't have that luxury. To even put it as far to say 99.9, like, people just don't really have that luxury to just live a lifestyle like that. And I guess it's just your mindset.
Sure.
It sucks, but it's reality. That's where we're at. And I don't see that changing anytime soon, sadly.
What do you think the biggest misconception is online, that in this kind of space? Because I think that's the other hard part too. I do think a lot of people, because that's kind of the trade-off, right? Like, we probably do have a bit of a more difficult situation when it comes into, it's not a great time to buy houses. It's not a great time. It's hard to get into something as a young adult. But I think we also tend to be wanting convenience a lot more nowadays. And so the idea of having to just really buckle in and work hard and hustle, it's like, people are not used to that, right? They're used to living good. And so what exactly, like, what do you think is the biggest misconception out there online that people see? Because we were talking about that a little earlier. There's a lot of stuff that just seems to be like little hits, but it's not necessarily really helpful.
Yeah, I think there's a handful of things, honestly. I think one of them that I genuinely think is a real problem today is like immediate gratification and the entitlement mindset. Like, oh, I deserve this. No, you don't. You don't deserve anything. You work for something if you want it, And I think those are two really big problems that, especially us in the United States of America, man, we have right now.
For sure.
It's just that immediate gratification and instant entitlement mindset. It's toxic.
Yeah.
It's a big thing. Nothing comes easy, There are the lucky few that get hit with that stroke of luck every once in a while, but like for the most of us, we've got to go hustle, we've got to go work, we got to go, really grind in order to achieve what you want.
Right, right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you have to. I mean, you just kind of have to buckle in and put your mind to it. Do you remember? Do you remember Christian Jimenez?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I had him on, and he was working somewhere. I think he was working for some supplement company doing Gains, I think is what they're called.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he was like their creative director. I don't know if he's still doing it, but he started a protein ice cream company.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. And he just had his new, like, they got their license after they tested all the batches and stuff, and
Yeah.
their goal was to make ice cream that actually tastes like ice cream but had a lot of protein. But yeah, they had their first shop and went there, tasted it. It was really great. So yeah, I just think it's like stuff like that. You just got to kind of buckle in, commit, move it forward, and it's not gonna be at 100% on day one. And that's always kind of a hard part for, I think, people to realize, because we get addicted to the quick wins, the quick hits.
Yep.
And sometimes we just keep trying to chase quick hits, and it's like, yeah, that's just not necessarily reality.
Yes. Sadly, it's just really not.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I feel like people they have this idealistic point of view that
Sure.
certain things are going to happen the way it's going to happen, and it doesn't really generally happen that way.
Yeah.
It's my grandpa, he's the one that invented the IMAX screen, the paint that creates the 3D imagery.
Yeah.
Like, that guy hustled for 90% of his life to become what he is and to create the product he created. And I mean, it took him a long time to achieve that, but he did what he put his mind to. And I think that's something that we can all learn from and live by, is like, whatever you put your mind to, if you're willing to like put your mind to it and change and be better 0.1% every single day, like, you can do whatever you put your mind to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's like, if you put your mind to it, do it. You can do it. I believe you.
Yeah.
So.
No, definitely. I absolutely agree. One thing I'm curious about too is, so what do you think? Because you mentioned that with your budget, part of that is set aside for investing.
Yep.
And I'm a big believer that you have to like be invested in the game if you're going to get anything out of it.
Yep.
Right. And I think you kind of mentioned that with, you can't just throw, like, if you just throw $100 into a low yield savings account hoping for something to happen, it's probably not, right? Like, you'll stack up over time, but it's not making you anything.
No.
So what is that investment strategy? Because I think there's a lot of information out there. Sometimes you hear, like, throw it in the S&P 500, or, put it somewhere in like real estate, or invest in a startup.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of those things out there. There's a lot of options. What have you done, and what have you seen that works?
I think there's investing in general, there's a risk versus reward. Sure. And it's like, if you are willing to go high risk, you can hit some major, major high rewards. But if you don't have that risk tolerance, or you don't have that liquid cash, like, it's probably not the right thing to do for you. I personally, I'm a firm believer in Roth IRAs.
Sure.
And high yield savings accounts. Like, those are two big things. Two of my biggest investments. You cap out your Roth IRA at $7,500 every year. So I invest into other things as well. A lot of it goes into high yield savings account, 401k if you have 401ks, SEPs. Those things are all generally like lower risk investments, but something people I don't really think take into mind is time over money equation.
Right.
The more you invest when you're younger, the more that's gonna just duplicate and duplicate and duplicate with time. That's kind of my strategy, my outlook on it is, that. And then, I mean, mutual funds is another thing. Bank notes, those are super like low risk, but you can get some high rewards out of it with time.
Right.
So that's just kind of like the few things. I'm not a financial advisor, so I don't think anything I say is worth anything. Right. I pay a professional money manager to manage my money for me, because they know better than me, and I don't want to be sitting there looking at graphs all day on where I should invest my money and what 500 stocks I should throw my IRA money into. So, I'll leave that up to them, but that's one thing that I also like recommend highly is like go get a professional money manager.
Really? Okay.
Like,
yeah.
So I have my guy, and his name's also Jake. Dude's a stud, and he takes good care of us, and it's minuscule the amount that they take in order to manage your funds for you.
Does he just basically, is he looking at, okay, here's how much Jake is bringing in, and this is how much he wants to invest, and then he's looking at, based off that number, here's the best, like the safest outcomes. Is he giving you like high risk versus high, like low risk? What is he giving? Yeah. Really? That's okay. We'll just swap it over then. So stop that one real quick. Stop the one. Put that card in this camera. Did you pause the audio? Let's pause the audio too. Thanks.
What software do you use to record?
So lazy and chillaxing. Okay. Okay, sorry. Equipment cut out.
No
We're back. We were talking about investment, right? And I was saying your guy, you say, hey, I'm going to invest X amount each month or whatever, right? Whatever's coming in. And then what is he doing? Is he looking at a variety of options? Is he giving you options? How's that work?
Yeah, mainly he's the one. I've given him pretty much full ride, like full control. Like here's X number of dollars a month.
Right.
So between my wife and I, we split out about $1,000 a month, and he diversifies that for us. So from what I know right now, we're about 85% American market, 15% European market. Last I checked is what that was at. I'm not 100% sure that's still the case, but we diversify between the markets a little bit. We've discussed that, but he just kind of handles the whole shebang there with our IRAs and stuff like that. So
if you don't mind me asking, what exactly is the type of return you're seeing on a regular basis? I know that fluctuates, and I know a lot of times, the goal, I think people get hung up on like, oh my gosh, I'm losing money, let's pull it out, and that's usually advised against.
Yep.
But what are you on average seeing?
Yeah, so last year we did really well, actually. I think, if I'm not mistaken, when I checked, it was like 16.5% return last year.
Yeah.
This year, I literally checked like 2 or 3 days ago with my dad. We were talking finance, and it was 13.4% return so far. The first quarter of this year, really. So.
Okay. Wow.
It's pretty good. I mean, you really can't get that return very many places. So.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And are you finding that mostly in European market, American market? Is it kind of a mix, or what's?
It's a mix. Like the European market did really well a couple months back, I know, and then we had a big dip here once all the stuff in the Middle East was happening, but over the last 2 weeks, like we've had a really, really good like in the market again. So. We had an all-time high here in the market. I think it was a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So that was massive. That was huge returns. So it's nice because the company I invest with, it's actually Edward Jones, but they have a like all-inclusive app. Like you can go in and check it any time of day.
Right.
They'll show you where your returns are at and how everything's looking, what's having the return. It's super nice. It's super nice. So.
And are you just typically, are you like, is your guy looking at individual things and putting it into different companies, or is he just kind of, it's like this is a group and we're throwing it in there?
So he does more of, from what I know, it's I don't even know how to explain that. I know he's looking at the money that we're putting in.
Sure.
And then he has his guys also that he works with that are like the in depth, like in the trenches, like money managers, like watching every little detail of every little thing. So like if I go on my app, I can see like, oh, they traded this for this stock and this and this and this, and so
they are kind of like they're doing individual stuff. They're not just doing like, oh, we're just throwing it in a S&P, we're gonna let it sit and we'll see what happens. No,
they're proactively out there like making sure it grows.
Interesting.
So as much as possible in a year. So
Interesting. What are you paying for some guy like that?
I think it's 1%
Okay.
off of invested.
Oh, so they take a little cut off of whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's how money managers generally make their money. From what I know is they generally take 1% of their portfolio every year.
Interesting.
I don't know the exact details, but I do know that that's generally speaking
Standard.
what happens. So
Okay, that's cool. I didn't realize that because that's so then their game is really find big fish people or even people in the medium size, depending on what clientele they're working, and then do well with their money.
yeah.
So that's an interesting, That's cool. I didn't know that. I don't think a lot of people know that, but
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of financial guys out there, and I know that they the better they do for you, the better they do. So
right.
personally, so it's kind of a win-win scenario. Like if you win, they win. So why not do their best kind of thing?
Right, right. I'm curious. So you've probably seen online, and you see this a lot about, especially when it comes to real estate, because your dad's done real estate.
Yep.
I know you've dabbled in it at the very least, or probably, but even just being around it.
Yeah.
I know at one point you were talking about getting your real estate license. Did you end up getting that?
I didn't.
Okay, so but you've delved into that arena, and you see a lot of these real estate gurus online, and some of them talk about getting into rental properties. Some of them talk about getting into like duplexes or condos. Some people talk about getting into the big apartment units.
Yep.
Some people talk about the medium-sized family homes. Like it's so vast and it's varied, and all of them seem to have different opinions, saying like, no, this is the way. Like duplexes are dead. Don't do that, right? I've heard that one. I think I saw a video on that today, actually. And so I think that like people are interested by it. There's obviously an interest, but there's a lot of like not knowing exactly what method's right and wrong. What do you think on that? I mean, like obviously we're not really experts in this field, and that's understandable. But I know obviously buying a house, seeing that, having an interest there, is that the safer option? Is it better to get into something that's like a rental cash flow property? Or is that just kind of a waste of time unless you have money already?
That's hard. I do kind of like to go by Dave Ramsey's principles a lot of the time, and
Sure.
I don't know if you know this. Dave Ramsey actually, when he was in his early 20s, he'd built out this massive empire essentially of rental properties, and he had all of his loans through one bank. That bank got bought out, and they called the notes due on every single rental property. So by age 27, Dave Ramsey, with one kid, was completely bankrupt, and like millions of dollars in debt essentially.
Wow.
And so his whole theory and his whole opinion is like diversify kind of thing. Like don't have all your eggs in one basket, because that's really screwed him over essentially.
Right.
He went from being a multimillionaire to being bankrupt within a matter of months. And I kind of agree with that, especially in today's economy. I mean, I think anybody can, again, like I said earlier, it's like anybody can make money anywhere. And I definitely think you can make money if you want to do duplexes, if you want to flip houses, if you want to rent, you can.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think there's money to be made there. I personally wouldn't tell somebody to be like, oh yeah, go take on $1 million worth of debt as a 25-year-old and sit on duplexes. Like, could it make you a semi-passive income? Oh yeah. Like you can definitely bring in money every single month from that. But I mean, the thing I don't think gurus or people really talk about is the management side of it.
For sure.
It's a nightmare.
Right.
I mean, if you're sitting there and you're like, okay, I have 12 tenants in this apartment complex. Well, what happens when one day one's garbage disposal goes out, and the next day the next door neighbor is having problems with their air conditioner, and then you've got the guy down the street that's got a refrigerator issue. I mean, those are all expenses that build up really fast. And so that's the thing that I think a lot of people like don't look at. It's like there's other income, like what happens if you buy a duplex, or if you buy an apartment complex, or if you buy several homes. As a landlord, you're obligated to take care of those things for them.
Right.
if you don't have liquid cash on hand, you're going to go into a lot more debt to make sure everything is taken care of. That's my point of view.
Right.
So I kind of have that Dave Ramsey mindset of get out of debt immediately. So there's debt leveraging where you can leverage debt and make money for sure.
Yeah, explain that to me, because I've heard about that, and I hear people nowadays too talking about how, because of the way the market is and how the government's handling their inflation, like holding on to the debt and actually like using that to your advantage is actually of better use, because like the dollar's just not going as far anymore. So if you're just trying to like make money, it's like there's use to the debt. So explain that to me a little bit.
So you can debt leverage. That's what people do. For example, like Elon Musk, he doesn't have 200 or $1 trillion, whatever his net worth is at this point, of liquid cash. Like he doesn't. Sure. It's all built back into a business.
Yeah.
So what he does is he leverages his business, takes out a loan with a bank, and then uses that loan to live off of. That's what he does.
Right.
For money. But then there's people that debt leverage, like actually debt leverage, and they go in and they get a loan, and they make money off that loan essentially by either, buying a duplex. So they now have, you go buy an average duplex today, you're looking at probably upwards of $1.5 million.
Right.
So they take $1 million debt in their name. They leverage that asset to make money. So if it has several units in it, they know that, okay, their mortgage on that duplex is going to be $5,000 a month. They've got to make $6,000 in return in order to make any money.
Yeah.
And you kind of average that out. Anyways, so that's how people a lot of times do debt leverage. So I like I said, I referred back to my grandpa earlier, and he always has been like, get out of debt, don't have any debt. And he did that in his business. He told me that several times in the business world since he's been in business, which I believe it's over 40 or 50 years at this point. He said he's seen competitors come in, they debt leverage, so they build their entire corporation off of debt.
Sure.
And then they start to make tons and tons of money really fast, but then the economy turns and flips upside down and the people stop buying. They go under immediately because they don't have their assets paid off, and they're not making any money, so they can't pay for that. Whereas my grandpa, he's always done everything debt-free. He's tried it. As soon as he could get out of debt, he got out of debt and has stayed debt-free. And that even through the swing markets, like when the market turns or goes downhill or anything else, they still have built up cash funds where they can pay their employees or whatnot as needed and still stay in business. Right. And so I think I think that's personally why I'm like, get out of debt as soon as you can.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what has motivated me to get out of debt. Or I don't have any debt besides my home, but it's like, that's why I want to get out of debt. Because I think there's a major peace in mind, especially for me. Once you're out of debt, you don't owe anybody anything.
Right.
It's all your own. And so it's like, okay. And I get people in my comment sections all the time. They're like, well, if you took that money, invested it, and we're making 15%, okay, well, why are you not doing that then? Yeah, hypothetically, that is fantastic.
Right.
But at the same time, the peace of mind is worth more to me. That's kind of just debt.
Right.
So
let me ask you this. Once you pay off this property, and this might be way too long-term down the road, but, I'm curious. You seem like a long-term thinker anyways. Once you pay off this property, what is the game plan? Is the game plan you just have a property that now is your personal asset? Is the goal like you're going to leverage that asset to your advantage? What's kind of your perceived what you want to do once you pay it off? So
what I really want to do is my ultimate goal by paying off our house in 5 years is be out of debt, have that stress off my back.
Sure.
But maintain the same lifestyle I'm living today, budgeting, managing my money until I get to a point where, I have enough money in accounts where I can live off the interest and spend more time with my wife and family. And that's things, that's where people, I feel like, give up their soul, honestly, today. A 9 to 5, it sucks, man. I spend more time with my freaking coworkers than I do my wife.
Yeah.
I hate that. I utterly despise that. It's like, no, this is the person I've chosen. This is the person I want to be with more than anybody else,
Right.
And so my ultimate end-all be-all goal is to be able to build a lifestyle, live a lifestyle. My dad always says, live like nobody else now so you can live like nobody else in the future. So, like, my ultimate goal is to live like nobody now, save as much as possible, build out my retirement savings, my other investments, so that I can one day hopefully live off the interest while those still create interest, to then just be able to kind of do what I want to do with my family and not have to worry about money.
Yeah.
I think it's that. And if, I think something really important that comes with that is like give back. Like, give back to people. Like if you can help somebody, like help somebody. Like right now, like it stresses me out to think like, oh, well, if I went and gave somebody $5,000, well, I can't handle that. But hopefully in the future, like if somebody needed some money, like genuinely needed some money, not a person on the street corner, but like if I know somebody that's in financial need, like I can also be able to go give back while still taking care of myself and my family and having that time with them. So that ultimately is the goal, is to be able to spend as much time with the family.
For sure. Let me ask you, what number do you think you have to be putting into investments to then be earning enough interest to just live off that?
So,
and maybe that's kind of a vague number, but
no, I mean, rule of thumb really is off of your average investment. If you can make 8 to 10%, that's a solid amount. So I mean, my lifestyle that I have right now, it doesn't cost that much.
Sure.
And it's not like I don't want to do what lifestyle upgrading, like I don't want to get out of debt and then like all of a sudden I'm spending.
You're not looking for the super yacht?
No. I personally don't need that. I don't need a supercar. I don't need a super yacht. I don't need private jet. Personally, I don't need those things.
10 years from now, we see him on Instagram, like, cruising on his yacht. We're like, hey, wait a second.
Call me on the carpet
if
that ever happens.
Yeah. I'll be in your comments. I'm like, wait, what happened here?
I'll just hit you up back. Come on.
Yeah, I'll be like, never mind. I delete my comment. I'm like, never mind. I've been invited on.
Yeah. So, no, I think that's a problem a lot of people have, is they upgrade their lifestyle. They get a $5,000 raise.
Right.
That's $5,000 more to spend every year, even though, like, your gross take-home isn't that. So or your net take home. So that's kind of the thing. It's like live below your means. Ultimately, but to answer your question on the number, like if to take care of like all your needs, if you don't have a mortgage anymore and you don't have a car payment, you have zero debt, how much do you really need every year? If your accounts are making, if you have $1.5 million and your accounts are making $150,000 a year in returns, and you can live off of 100,000 of that, so that 50 then goes back into the account and then continues to grow, like all the better.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
So realistically, the number that I've always had in mind is like $3 million.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's the goal.
So if you have $3 million in investments, diversified investments, and they're making you a return of X amount, where you're bringing in. What would you say if at that number, if you've got $3 million in the account, what number would you say would be on average probably the comeback?
To like the return on investment, ROI?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, on average, I would hope like 8%.
Right.
8 to 10%. I mean, it fluctuates, it varies, it depends on the market and everything else. I mean, there could be years where it's negative.
Sure.
For all we know.
Yeah.
If another 2008 happens, so.
Yeah.
But that's like genuinely, like realistically, the number I use to calculate is generally 8%.
Okay.
8 to 10%.
Okay.
So nothing crazy like.
But just an average.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. So, let me ask you this, because we were talking about I'm just like hammering you. I'm sorry. Sometimes these podcasts are more conversational, and today it's just like, tell me this. So, on the real estate front, it sounds like debt leveraging almost is more of a, it's a risky kind of get cash fast and make it quick.
Yeah.
And it can either go really well or it might go really poorly depending on where things are at. But if, let's say let's take your home. Let's say you've paid it off and you now own your home.
Yeah.
If you decided to then take that home, and let's say you decide to turn to a full-time rental. You're going to move, you're going to go somewhere else or whatever. I don't know where, but let's just say you're going somewhere else. Or maybe you've got a second home already, right? If you were to use that, right, and make it a cash flow property, and then leverage that for a loan, would there be benefit to that potentially?
Yeah, I'm sure there probably is.
Like, is it the same debt scenario if you then own the home, or is it kind of different at that point?
I mean, it's kind of different. Again, my whole thing is zero debt. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to have to leverage a loan. I don't want to have to do that. Right now, like being a homeowner, like realistically as a nation, like we have to use the mortgage program in order to own a home.
Yeah.
You have to get a loan to buy a house unless
Unless you're
somebody's
flushed.
handed you money,
Right.
or you just hit it off. You know, most people, your average American has to use that mortgage program, and so ultimately at the end of the day, kind of like I said with Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey owns tons of houses,
Yeah.
but he owns them zero debt free, 100%.
Really?
He pays
Okay, yeah.
cash every time he buys rental property. He pays it in cash.
Yeah.
Then that is truly, I mean, cash flowing. It's 100% cash flow. So you pay off a house, yeah, that's money out of your pocket right now, but with time, that's an asset that most likely is going to be there. It's an asset you can pass down, and in your trust and everything else, and it's an asset that's going to create cash flow. And I know
huge tax benefit as well.
oh yeah, there's huge tax benefits with that. There's huge money benefits with that. I mean, that is ultimately, I think that's kind of the American dream. Is like cash flow everything. If you can cash flow 10 houses and be pocketing 30 grand a month off of just money coming off of the rent of those houses, like that's fantastic.
Right.
But that's another thing that today I think is kind of dead is the American dream. The average person is renting these days, and they can't afford a home. And there's all this talk and speculation of the American dream is gonna fully die one day, and like we're never gonna. There's people that aren't gonna be able to rent or purchase homes anymore. I don't necessarily believe in that.
You're not that dooms and gloom.
No. I mean, there's always upside to everything, but
Right.
that's one of the things. It's like I want to have my American dream. And
Right.
I think it's getting further and further out of reach every decade that kind of passes. It does get harder, I think. But I mean, again, kind of goes back to that struggle and that grind of what do I got to do to get there?
Right. So. Yeah, no, every generation, it seems like, has their version of having to work to the next level. I mean, although people say the 80s were pretty great, so maybe they really were living the dream there. But I'm curious with, because you talked about this financial plan, or the school, right? Yeah. Your course that you've put up and you're working towards. So, and the American dream. So what would be, I guess, the kind of the promise you're making to people who sign up for this course and like you said, you're trying to build your American dream.
Yep.
And I think there's a lot of people who want to believe that they could build theirs as well. So what exactly in your mind in this course and what you've put together is people's way of building that American dream?
Yeah, I'm not, so my course, it's $8 a month.
Yeah.
I've tried to make it as affordable as possible while still being able to pay for the school.
Right.
They're down their whole thing, and I don't sell anything else other than my budgeting spreadsheet. That's the only other thing I sell. I'm not trying to get rich off of this. What I'm really trying to do is show that I have a goal to pay off a $540,000 home loan in a reasonable amount of time.
Right.
And if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Right.
And my ultimate goal is to then take that, and if I can create that as like my livelihood, my lifestyle, like help other people be able to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Give, and it generally comes back to you tenfold. I think Mr. Beast is the perfect example of that. Like he gives and gives and gives, and it's really come back to him. And so ultimately, at the end of the day, like I have to charge because it's a course. And, and it's something I've dumped hundreds, if not probably thousands of hours of time into. So it's something that I have to charge for, and it would benefit me. And I feel like it's something that I have taken and really, really thought long and hard about, and how it can help people, because I don't feel like school, not SKOOL, like SCHOOL,
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like our school system today teaches anything about
Why is that?
Finance. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wish they had a course in every single grade to be like, let's learn about debt. Let's learn about credit. Like, let's learn about purchasing a home. Let's learn about amortized interest. Basic interest, principal, like all these things. And that's the things I go over in my school community is breaking down in the lamest, simplest terms possible finance.
Yeah.
Because finance is freaking scary. If you don't know what you're talking about, it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
It's ultimately, at the end of the day, it's like, how can I take a scary topic, be as open as possible about it, and make it so people want to be a part of that.
Right.
You know, so that's ultimately the goal, is like create community.
Yeah.
It's create a place where people can come and build each other up. Because I think the biggest thing that we see today, and with gurus and everything else, is like, I'm not there. Why am I not there?
Right.
It's self-comparison and putting yourself down, like, oh, I'm not there. Why am I not there? No. Let's not do that. That's where this community that I've built is like, let's get there together. How can we get there together? And I have a course module in there called Side Hustles that it's under construction right now. But it's like, these are ideas, like realistic ideas of how you can go out and make money right now. If you needed something right now, like these are ideas that you can go and do and actually make money, instead of trying YouTube automation or something like that takes months, if not years, to master and understand and actually create money on. Like, you know, like that's ultimately my goal with my community.
Right.
So.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, and it's cool too, because I agree. I think a lot of people, sometimes they're already there and they're trying to, we're not back.
Yeah, you're back.
All right, we're back. And so we were talking about your course, and what you put together. I was saying how it's cool how you're in the midst of building it, right? So you're not like, I've paid off my house, I've done all this already. You're like, I've put a plan together, I'm confident it will work, I'm gonna do it with you, which I think is kind of a cool differentiator between a lot of people out there, and you know, these people who join on, they're walking the journey with you, right?
Yeah, and the course is literally called Learn Money with Jake.
Right.
It's not. I'm not a guru. I don't claim to be a guru. I claim to feel like I have some passed down knowledge from my parents who are really smart with their money. And I want to learn it and know it and be able to share it with others. And it's not me, hey, I know this, you go do this.
Right.
No, it's like, this is what I'm doing. Follow along with me, kind of thing. Like, learn with me.
Right. It's not Jake teaches you money. It's Learn Money with Jake, right?
Yeah. No, I'm not a teacher. Like, I have this whole big plan in my head, and if I can do it, I hope that I can then influence or inspire other people to kind of do the same thing. Like, ultimately, at the end of the day, like, if I can pay off my debt, like, the next guy, hey, I want to pay off my debt. Good, you can do it, and this is how I did it. If you want to follow my equation or whatever you want to call that, like, do it. Like, go be better than me. Like, genuinely. That ultimately, at the end of the day, is like, I want to create a community. Like, you can have my outline. Like, I've documented everything I've done so that somebody else can go do it and be better than me. Because the thing is there's enough money out there for everybody. Yeah. It's the hustle to get it. So if the next guy wants to do it, go do it. Yeah. Go do it. Like, that's all it takes.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. I don't know. I think we need more of that out there in the world, because I think it's really easy to feel disconnected. You know, we used to live in communities where you kind of knew everybody. Yep. You know, now we've always had large cities for the last century or so, but you know, for the most part, you kind of knew who you're working with. And now I think with technology and just life in general, people feel disconnected, and people feel screwed over. They feel like they're not seen, or they're not really getting some of value. And so I think something like that is really important. What, you know, just to give people kind of a sneak peek of what if they sign up, if they obviously we'll link it in the description, and but if they were to join, like what, and we've probably talked about a few things just in our conversation. What would you say are like the core tenets of this course? You know, and maybe there's 3, maybe there's 5, I don't know. But what would you say, like, your core beliefs, your core tenets summarized? Because obviously we've talked about them some here on the podcast. But what are they?
So let me see if I'm understanding you correctly. What is the core of this course essentially?
Yeah, like if someone were to say like, okay, I'm going to take this course, what are like the core beliefs that I'm being taught in this course? What are your kind of core things?
So yeah, there's a handful of things definitely in this course. My biggest thing that I'm striving to create in this course is a sense of community.
Yeah.
That we can all do this and we can all do it together. We can get out of debt together. You can do everything you want. Anything you put your mind to, like, you can do.
Yeah.
The other kind of principle, I have a handful of things like I said, the side hustle page where, like, I'll give you a list of side hustles that you can go out and make money today.
Yeah.
Like right this second. And then I have the actual course of, like, principles I've personally learned in my life from, how my mind thinks about money, like money mindset, down to like credit and debt, down to building a business, starting an LLC. Like, those are all principles that I have set up in this course of, like, things that I have personally done.
Right.
And then I also do things like, I want to keep it personal. So, like, I will respond, even if I have 5,000 people in there, which that's far-fetched for right now, but if I had 5,000 people in there, I'll talk to you directly. If you DM me, I'm at your disposal 24/7.
Nice.
I want to be there for anybody that has a question for me. I'll be there. I call it small group coaching. It's just like, if you have questions, if you want to talk about your finances with me, like, we can do that. Another thing that I do in that like, another one of the principles is I call it hot seat. So, like, if you want to sit down with me, you're like, man, I'm struggling in my finances. Like, I just need to know how to better budget or do whatnot. If you sit down with me, like, I will literally, like, go line through line of your bank statements or whatnot with you. If you want to do it personally, fantastic. Let's do that one-on-one. If you want to do it, I generally will take, like, a video. And like, show other people, like, everybody's in the same situation here. It's not just you. It's not just me. It's like, we're all in the same boat. Like,
right.
Like, let's get through this together. So I guess those are kind of my core principles, is learning and community.
Very cool.
Like, I think those are two things that there aren't in money.
Right.
People, again, like I said earlier, when we were discussing, like, people hold their money tight. They hide their cards when it comes to money. And I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, but it doesn't have to be so lonesome.
Right.
Like, let's do this together. Like, that's how I personally see discussion and motivation coming to get out of debt.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I think it's always been one of those taboo topics, right? It's like faith, finance, and politics, right? Those are the three things you leave away from the dinner table. But I agree. I think you have to have open conversations about where things are at. Otherwise, you just get sound bites on the internet that leave people confused.
Yep.
And so that's cool. I'm really excited for it. I'm excited for what you're doing. That's cool to hear about it. Before we wrap up, and definitely people check out his course, and we'll do some plugs at the end. But if there's one piece of advice, and it doesn't necessarily have to be finance related, maybe you want it to be, but if there's one piece of advice that you would give somebody to get ahead, right? To get ahead in that piece of life. I think a lot of times we feel like life is maybe leaving us behind, and everybody's just like, I just want to get ahead. I want to just feel like I'm getting ahead in my life. What would that one piece of advice be? Or one piece of advice that's really impacted you?
Put God at the center of your life. Genuinely, it's just that. Like, if you make God a priority in your life, he'll make you a priority in his. And I am a personal witness of that. I feel like anytime I have done that, I've seen, as we say, the windows of heaven open to me. Like, I've been given tenfold back. So I think a lot of large entrepreneurs have that same point of view as well. So
yeah.
So that's really truly my personal advice.
Awesome. Amen to that. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Tell people where they can find you. Once again, your socials, where they can find you on school, and then
Jake Pays It Off is my TikTok, Instagram, YouTube handle. And then if you guys are looking for my school course, it's Learn Money with Jake. If you DM me, I'll get you a 7-day free trial.
Awesome. And we'll put everything in the comment or in the description. Anything else? Anything we're missing?
I don't think so. Thanks for having me.
Hey, awesome. Jacob, appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.